Guten Abend. Hallo.
Hello, Philippe. You just unmute your yes. So,
Okay, hi.
hi. First of all, we're gonna make the interview in two languages, a little bit German, a little bit English, because Philip is speaking only English, not German. Seba is multi-language. She speaks a lot of languages, so we can do it anyway in German and in English. My English is terrible, but at least I hope it's understandable. So
Yes, it is.
I will do my best. And thank you very much that you have time. For you, Philip, it's very early in the morning because you are not in Europe. And Seba is living in Ticino, is a very big supporter of Reiner Fuellmich. Philip, if you don't mind, we're going to switch to English. Just introduce yourself and maybe the first few words about your motivation to make this film for Reiner called Free Reiner. I'm listening to you, and maybe I will just translate the most important things then in German.
Okay, thank you very much, Roger. So obviously, I'm a filmmaker. I've been living in Hollywood for 15 years before I came to Vanuatu. And I've done many films here in Vanuatu. But before that, I've done major documentaries. I was working for 20th Century Fox and then some of the BBC documentaries when I was still in France before I came to Hollywood. I have done three major documentaries. One is Inside the Garbage of the World, which exposed to plastic pollution and why we need to change that with all the experts. And the second one was the Fukushima disaster, which also involve many scientists, nuclear scientists, who are talking against nuclear power because people don't know, and it has been hidden from the eyes of the people, the real intent behind all the nuclear plants. And then I finished with a film that I did in Vanuatu that concerned actually Vanuatu, related to the pandemic and the relationship between the pandemic, the takeover of WHO here in the country and the UN during the pandemic. And the film also features two MPs here who have been very vocal about what was happening in the country, which actually was very interesting in a way that it shows on a smaller scale what was the real intent of these people behind the scene and how they work, because they are all embedded pretty much, into the government system here in Vanuatu. So we saw, let's say, we saw it as a lab, how they operate and how they can influence the government behind the scene, and how they did actually control the whole pandemic lockdown and policies here during COVID. So the reason why I wanted to do this film is because at the time we were facing a complete censure of speech here. I didn't give up, and I finally found two MPs. One was a friend, John Salong was a friend of mine already, because I interviewed him previously for a previous film. And I told him to do something about it, and he was smart enough and vocal enough to say, okay, I'm going to stand up for my people. And this is how we started. But on the way, they were threatened to be put in jail, arrested and put in jail. And it could have happened, but we did continue to do the video. And at some point, because we could not spread the word here in Vanuatu, so then we decided to go international. So I already had contact with some people who knew Reiner Fuellmich, and then we contacted Reiner, and then he was okay to do a piece actually on what was the situation in Vanuatu. Then this is how we started, and then it was very fortunate because these two MP were very happy to be able to tell their story of the Vanuatu situation, which was kind of very similar to other countries, but in a different way. And after that, when I heard that Reiner Fuellmich was put in jail, I was really like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? I don't believe that. I could not believe that. And just so you know, I'm an investigative journalist. I have been graduated from Al Jazeera, just to make sure people understand that, you know, I'm not just a self-proclaimed, you know, journalist. And for me, you know, the arrest and kidnapping of Reiner for me didn't add up at all. And I know that many of the researchers, many doctors, or many people who are close to power and try to expose the truth, you know, are getting arrested, like you know, Edward Snowden and so many others anyway, and Julian Assange, of course. So I decided to do something about it, and that's how it started. After 1 year, it was in my mind, and I was like, okay, you know, we cannot let that happen, because without Reiner at the time, without Reiner, then what do we have? You know, this guy was a lawyer, international lawyer, and he said that he's going to lay the way down about, you know, how to prosecute and to proceed with all these criminals who are at the top of the pyramid, if I can say it like this, you know. And this is how I started. And then I met Seba, and through contact and stuff, I did a piece first about, you know, John Salong and Andrew Natwat, to talk about it, to release him. And this was my initiative. And John was very willing to do it, and Andrew as well. And this is how we meet with Seba. We'll contact people, start to contact me and say, okay, that's great, blah, blah, blah. And they start to share. The piece have been shared a lot of time, you know, everywhere. So this is how it started. And then I met Seba, and Seba was very enlightened. She had the fire inside. So I find out that she would be a good person to work with, and actually she is really good at what she's doing. So that's our collaboration started and continue to this day. So that's the story about why I wanted to do a piece.
Maybe the first question for Philippe is, we're gonna see the trailer soon. You have done a trailer for this film. Can you already say when we can expect that we're gonna see this film or this documentary about Reiner?
When you said when?
Yes.
Well, I think it's going to take about 9 months, but maybe we can make it earlier. It will all depend of how fast we can get all the interview done. That's the main part, really, because the rest I can do it here anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, the interview with the experts, sometimes it takes some time to organize, and organize a film crew, where they live, etc., etc. So there is a lot of logistic involved, of course. But we can make it. So I would say, to be safe, on the safe side, 9 months. So it will be, I guess, December or November. But if we can make it in 6 months, which I think is possible if we work hard, because there is an emergency. All the film I do, there's an emergency anyway. So you have to rush, and then no sleep for a while. That's okay. We'll sleep after if possible. And usually it's not possible to sleep after anyway, because there is some other work coming. But yeah, the main reason why we are in emergency is because we really want to make it so public that the public opinion is changing, and it's pushing a government like Germany, which have not a good record of a good justice, to be honest with you, and then to push the government to act accordingly, and then do the right thing, because they don't want to look the bad guy. You know,
Okay.
at this point, it is what it is about.
The film itself, is it like you want to in this film we can see the whole story, like kind of a movie, what's happening with Reiner, or what can we expect?
Yeah, the first part will be the kidnapping. We'll see how we can make it very real for people, because we are limited with the time, and also people who are willing to talk. All right, unfortunately, not everybody would be willing to talk, but that would be fantastic if we could have his wife, because she was there. And this is what we look after all the time as a filmmaker, is who was there, who can say what happened exactly. And then also we're gonna try to find out, and we already have a good idea, but who was behind that, who was behind this illegal kidnapping, and why. Okay, and after that, I want to go into what Reiner discovered and was able to expose in order for him to be so much of a threat for these people. Okay, and so we're going to go into the WEF, the UN, the Trilateral Commission, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Interpol as well. All right, the Bilderberger group, which was very detrimental to the let's say the logistic of the whole COVID response. Okay, many names from the 150 names actually from the Bilderberger family were involved in that. Okay. And that shows you that it was really a hand put on control of all the entity who can really control the world after that. And then, to expose all these people and see exactly what was going on behind the scene, because people who are directly involved into the arrest and the jail of Reiner, they are just peons. Actually, they are just following orders.
Yeah, for sure. Where we gonna see the film if it's finished?
As soon as it's finished, people are going to see the film. Where? Everywhere. We are going to blast it. We're going to try different channels. My distributor, I have two distributors. I can, they can do a part of the work, of the exposure. But basically, with the distributor, it will be on a VOD platform, like a video on demand platform, such as Amazon or iTunes, whatever. And then we will also put the film available on my website, on Facebook page, on Rumble, YouTube. I mean, everywhere possible for people to see what's going on. And then hopefully, with the fundraising, we will have enough money to pay for the advertising, which will spread, the movie even furthermore.
Is the film for free to see, or we have to pay, or how it works?
No, it will be free. Okay. I forgot to mention we're gonna run the film festival circuit. Okay, that is to gain credibility and also to attract maybe some distributor who are like alternative distributor, because the main distributor are not going to follow, as you know.
Yeah, for sure.
The Trilateral Commission, and they have their hand on all the media anyway.
100%.
So they are not going to let that go. So that's why we have to use the alternative media. And so the film festival will be great, where we are intending to do a premiere in Berlin for the film. So before it's released, we'll see how it goes. You see, when we're in an emergency situation, we'll see what is the best to do, okay? Because not everybody will be able to attend the premiere. Yeah. Okay, so, but we want to make the premiere in Berlin just to tell the German government, here we are, and we are not going.
Do you know about the timeline that exists from Reiner Fuellmich? Philippe?
I'm sorry, the timeline?
Timeline, we have done a timeline that every event you can see about the whole case.
Yes, pretty much, but I want to emphasize mainly on the torture, on the white torture that he had been subjected to, and the main event. And then we have some lawyer talking about briefly, because it's we don't want to get too much into the case stuff, but we just want to have a resume with a lawyer talking about how wrong it is, in the law point of view, his arrest and everything. So this is how we intend to do it. But really, mainly is to expose what he was trying to expose himself, and to expose it at the large scale. And then because there is more than that.
Okay.
And yeah.
Maybe the final question before showing the trailer. What about languages? It will be, I guess, in German, other languages as well, subtitle, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's going to be subtitle, otherwise it's going to take too much time. So a subtitle would be the best. We're going to release the film in English first, and probably German, because Roger, you probably will be the first network to broadcast it. So I'm going to give you the premiere on that, okay? And then, of course. And then, so probably in English and German subtitle. And then after that, we'll during this time we will put all the other languages. But it takes some time to or do not only the translation but also the correction of the translation if there is any, and then put it back as a subtitle. So there's quite a lot of work. But we don't want to delay the people to have the information.
Okay.
Also, Seba, maybe you can talk about the GoFundMe stuff, because you know better than me, right? About how people they can access to that.
Not really. It's the first time I set up a GoFundMe, but I mean it's very easy. It's like like Gifts and Go or any other. So just very easy. I had to set it up here in Switzerland, because in Vanuatu is not allowed to do that. So that's why it is in Swiss francs, no euros, no dollars. I'm sorry for the people, but that's the only way I had to set up the GoFundMe.
In 2020, the world faced the biggest pandemic ever. But was it really a pandemic? How much science used at that time can be proven to be true? Or was it an orchestrated takeover of our lives? A few experts and lawyers stood up to challenge the official narrative. One of them was Dr. Reiner Fuellmich, a renowned international lawyer who initiated the Corona Investigative Committee. After collecting many official testimonies with other experts, he came to the conclusion that the whole COVID pandemic was a lie to force people into getting injected with undisclosed substances. Fuellmich became the voice of the people worldwide who were fighting against vaccine mandates and lockdowns. He was the last hope to bring these people to jail for crimes against humanity. Was this a violation of the Nuremberg Code? But governmental and corporate forces behind the pandemic were working furiously to stop Fuellmich at any cost. In October 2023, Fuellmich was kidnapped in Mexico and brought to a German jail illegally. Who are they? Why did they remove Fuellmich from exposing the criminals behind the COVID fraud? How is it possible that these government forces can act outside the laws anywhere in the world? And how many others have been jailed and carried away illegally for political reasons? Find out with this hard-hitting documentary, Free Reiner.
So, this was the trailer. I hope the people like it. Ich hoffe, es gefällt euch. Wow, super klasse, sehr gut, super Trailer, wow, super. Also, the people like it very much, Philippe, so good job. And then I'm looking forward for the final film movie, what you're doing. I'm sure that will be great, and everybody can see what's really happening with Reiner Fuellmich, and they can also see what's happening in Germany with the legal system, which is in part not existing anymore. And this is what you're gonna show the people, I guess. And this should be more pressure to the government to release Reiner Fuellmich as soon as possible, and we will see what's happening. I will thank you right now already for this wonderful idea, especially also for Seba. She's doing it just for him. I think it's not a secret that you're working for free all the time and you get nothing. And this is a big thank you in name of Reiner Fuellmich, what you guys, both of you and a lot of others are doing. Thank you very much for everything, and we will see what's happening in the future. So keep in touch, and I wish you both all the best.
Thank you, Roger.
Likewise.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.